Oh,
Good day.
all right. My question was around the shadow functions. For people within helps us learn how we use those, our primary functions for decision making. I was just wondering if there were any tools that we could use to understand our shadow functions better and how they come into play.
Yeah, fantastic question. Does anybody else wonder about the shadow functionalities? So this is so the book should really be the 8 people within, right? That's what it really should be called. And I'll probably at some stage do a volume to the rest of the people that are within you. That's the title.
Mm,
Lisa, you'll get to write that with me. But for those of you who don't know, Lisa and I are working on a book right now. So you'll have to tolerate me for a little bit longer. But on a serious note, so the shadow functionalities as we work them in the 4 people within framework, just so that we're all on the same page. So Lisa, you're an INFJ. So your 4 main functions are inward intuition, outward feeling, inward thinking, outward sense. Right? So then your shadow functions are outward intuition, shadow in adult self, inward feeling, shadow in a parent, outward thinking, shadow 10-year-old, and inward sensing, or the historian at shadow 3-year-old. So when we go into this phase of talking about the shadow functionalities, it it really genuinely is just an extended family. And if we look at those people, we can do exactly the same exercises we've done the 4 people within to get to know these people. We can name them. We can, set play dates with them. We can see where they're showing up. So in the grown-up processes, where's the shadow stuff coming up? So for shadow adult self, what you could do to create a relationship with that part is to not to deliberately choose not to put the information you're collecting into your library. So you're just going like, oh yeah, we could do that, or we could do that, or we could do that, and we could do that, and none of it needs to mean anything in relation to any other information that you've collected. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm.
So you could just go la 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 la, and I'm not saying that outward intuition is that, but that's the easiest way to practice it as an inward intuition predominant user. It's like, oh, I'm just not going to get attached to these things. Yeah. In terms of inward feeling for an INFJ, now this can be a really difficult situation, and this in terms of cultivating this relationship, because the tendency for INFJs is already in people pleasing as outward feelers. It's almost like we only not have to take into consideration ourselves as part of everyone, which is the growth journey for the outward feeling. We now have to extend that. So now we have to become selfish. And there's a lot of judgment around that. And I'm not saying inward feeling is selfish. I'm saying inward feeling is introspective. It's subjective. That's the
Right.
functionality of, like, that's the nature of the function. So now in the in a parent shadow in a parent position, I find the fastest as a fellow INFJ, I find the fastest path to developing a relationship with inward feeling um, shadow inner parent is actually to prioritize the inner children. So really look at the inner children and the shadow inner children as those, as those vulnerable parts of us that we need to protect. And that then almost gives me a permission to be selfish.
Right. Okay.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Um, and then, of course, with the inner children, the shadow inner children, the challenge is um, outward thinking. I mean, anybody who's an INFJ or has an inward thinking inner child knows how hard strategizing is when you're used to being tactical. Um,
Right.
So it's not so easy to build those big systems in the outside world that will actually make things more effective and help execute our lives in better ways. And my finding within shadow shadow executive in a child is to literally find books that are written by INTJs or ISTJs or ESTJs. Let's go with ESTJs, ENTJs. You know, get the books and literally just. Okay, we're back. Apologies, I got cut off. So literally just take those books, read what they say that you should do, and then just do those things what they think you should do. So you're actually learning through practice rather than trying to understand it, because you're unlikely to be able to process the shadow inner children's functionalities until after the fact.
Right, right.
So you almost have to like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to practice it, and then I'll see how I feel about it or what comes up afterwards. So it's almost like a review process.
Right, that sounds great.
And the historian, of course, the 3-year-old shadow is a very slippery customer. And it can be really hard to capture. And that's why what I've done with that is I've literally looked at INFPs are great for this, for us, INFJs, because if we can observe the INFP introverted loop, which is effectively the same as the INFJ shadow extrovert introverted loop.
Yeah.
If you can look at that in full-fleshed motion and then ask yourself, what is good about this? How can this situation help me? And it's really hard because it's not going to look good. Introverted loops don't often look good, and we often, feel uncomfortable with them, and they can even destroy our lives. But there's something good about it. So find out what that good is and then say, okay, I can cultivate a little bit of that essence in my life. But it's that shadow 3-year-old is slippery. So and so.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm saying that with love because I love my historian. I don't know what I've ever done without her, but here we are. Does that answer your question? I know it was a little bit of a general question. So
no, it definitely it does. It helps.
Okay, excellent. Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you.